Okay, so this is my personal narrative speech. I've got my lovely audience over here. Everyone introduce yourselves.
Joanne Reese.
Dan Hall.
Susan.
Tim Taylor.
Nick Duran.
Don O'Leary.
Perfect. Okay. That should be fine.
Alright, so when I was a kid, I loved reading books more than anything else in the world. I was known up until about 6th grade as the kid who was always reading whenever there was a break in class, whenever we weren't doing anything important, or sometimes when we were doing something important. I would pull out a book and start reading, and then I would go home from school every day and read at home. I would read everything. My favorite books were things like Harry Potter, Percy Jackson, and all those young adult fantasy series. And a lot of times I would imagine myself as being in the books and imagine that I was doing the things that the characters were doing. And sometimes I would even make up my own stories. Like, I remember when I was really little, I came up with this superhero named Everything Man, whose power was that he could literally do anything, and the way he decided was best to use it was to fight crime by shooting diamonds out of his belly button. So, these are kind of things that I would make little videos by cutting out paper figures and making them beat each other up on camera and things like that. These are all things that I would never do today, and I really think that as I've gotten into middle school and high school and now college, I've started reading for fun much less and less, to the point where I hardly ever do it anymore. And I think that's kind of goes along with the fact that I've just, as I've gotten older, become a less curious and imaginative and enthusiastic person. And there's a couple ways that I think that reading less has affected me. There's all the scientific ways that people talk about, like one study from the Liverpool Health Institute of Inequality Research. They did a study on November 10th, 2010, where they found that mental health, memory, concentration, and cognitive function are all significantly improved for people who read a lot. But it's more than just the physiological stuff. I also think that back when I was young, I just had a hunger to learn more about life, and reading fiction was my favorite way to do that. And that's just something that I've lost over the years. I'm not excited or enthusiastic about life in the way that I used to be. And when I pick up a book now, it's so much harder for me to get into because I know that it's fiction. I'm like, why should I care? None of this is really happening. I just can't get to that place in my imagination that I could when I was young. And what made me realize all this was a conversation I had with my 9-year-old sister, Teresa, who is just getting into reading in a big way, and mentioned that she was a big fan of the Percy Jackson books. And she said, "Oh, Percy Jackson, it's the best book of all time." And I actually was a huge fan of those books back when I was younger. I have one of them right here. You can see how destroyed it is. It's in like 3 different pieces, and it's got pages falling out because I read it so much. So yeah, I used to be a huge fan of the books, but when she talked to me about it, I thought some kind of really pretentious butthole thing like, oh, Percy Jackson, I mean, I liked those when I was 9. They're okay, I guess, but I don't think they really hold up anymore. And then I realized, my younger self would be really disappointed in me for thinking something like that. And, it made me, that conversation was what made me realize all these things that I'm saying right now, and it kind of put it in perspective for me. And I said, you know what, Teresa, you're right. Percy Jackson is awesome. It is the best book ever. And so that's really the event that made me realize how much less I've been reading as time has gone along, and just how more kind of cynical and apathetic towards the world I've gotten along with that. And the sad part of it is that I don't think this is something you can really prevent or get back. I think it's just natural that as we get older, we start to see the world in a different way. It's just a part of how we grow up. It's not something you can really stop, but that doesn't mean that we can't try.
Good,